Brittany Orman.
One in 3 infants with untreated HIV will die before their first birthday. Unfortunately, 85% of infants exposed to HIV will not get screened in the first 2 months after birth. This is because most of them live in developing countries where they don't have access to adequate screening methods. The current method for diagnosing infants is called PCR, or polymerase chain reaction. And the problem is it costs up to $100 per test. It takes several hours to perform, and it requires tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. To address this problem, we have created a simple paper and plastic device to serve as part of an HIV diagnostic for infants. Our device costs $4.45. It takes 18 minutes to get an answer, and it only requires a simple heater. It's based on a technology called recombinase polymerase amplification, or RPA, which is a faster, more robust method compared to PCR. It works by dispensing reagents onto pads in the device, dipping the device into the sample, and then folding it up like origami. We have shown that we can detect trace amounts of HIV markers at levels found in patient blood. If we are successful in creating an HIV diagnostic for infants, we can help identify hundreds of thousands more infants with HIV to help give them the life-saving treatment they need. Thank you.
Alan Hensley.
Major damage to the bones in the face due to injuries such as car accidents, gunshots, and cancer can be absolutely devastating. Now, the current gold standard of treatment for these types of patients involves the surgeon removing a section of bone from another part of the patient's body and implanting it back into the face, thereby allowing the natural bone to regrow. Now, this type of procedure, in addition to being multiple and often painful surgeries, is problematic for 2 reasons. One, there's an inherent limit to the amount of bone that can be removed from the patient, and 2, if infection is present, the implant will fail, causing the surgeon to have to go back in, remove the implant through an additional surgery. Therefore, the future of treatment for these patients will rely on ways to circumvent and combat these 2 major problems. Now, my research develops a material and synthetic implant capable of 1, delivering antibiotics to locally control the infection, and 2, stimulating the body's natural healing response to regrow bone without the need for an additional harvesting, all with 1 surgery. In addition to using safe and tested materials already shown to promote bone growth while disintegrating within the body, my implant will deliver antibiotics that will prevent infection and improve the overall healing within these patients. Now, once this technology moves from the bench to the bedside, fewer patients will have to endure painful facial infections and the need for additional surgeries.
Dan Coopery.
Did you know that 250,000 Americans currently have severe aortic valve disease? 50% of these people will not survive for 2 years without a valve replacement surgery. Now, the problem is the valve replacements currently on the market. You can either get a valve made out of pig or cow tissue, or you can get a mechanical valve. The problem is tissue valves will generally fail after about 10 to 15 years in the body. And mechanical valves will last a long time, but they'll clot. And so that requires the patient to take lifelong blood thinning medication, which brings with it a host of bad side effects. Both of these options are particularly unsuitable for children whose hearts are still growing. So I'm working on designing an artificial heart valve made out of the patient's own cells so it can grow with the body. Now, many researchers have done a lot of work in this field already, but the fact that there is not a better solution is a testament to the difficulty of the problem. So I just want you to think about heart valves and just how they have to open and close fully every single heartbeat for your entire lifetime. It's really an intense mechanical problem. But heart valves are refined to do their job well. They have this layered structure, with each layer giving the valve unique mechanical properties. My novel solution will be to reproduce that layered structure into a polymer scaffold, with each polymer layer doing its job just like the native valve. So by focusing on the biomechanics and by designing unique properties into each layer, I'm making a heart valve that will grow with the body, avoid that unwanted medication, and most importantly, last a lifetime.
PhD student, I've spent time in the ER, and I've seen patients with devastating facial trauma. These patients suffer from deformity that compromises not only the aesthetics of the face, but also the function. Surgeons currently try to address these issues, but fail to restore both form and function. In Tony Mikos' lab, we've developed a two-stage strategy to isolate the regeneration of soft tissue from that of bone. In the first stage, the surgeon takes a porous material that he molds and places into the bone defect. This material enhances the soft tissue regeneration around it and can deliver therapeutics such as antibiotics or growth factors. Simultaneously, a chamber is placed against the rib of the same patient. This chamber is filled with material that grows bone. And in the second stage, the bone that's grown within this chamber can then be transferred into the defect once the porous material is removed, thus completing the restoration and restoring both form and function. One of the great advantages of this strategy is that all of the materials are currently part of FDA-approved products, which means that the translation into the clinic is rapid. In fact, the porous material by itself has actually already been used in a few patients in the medical center with good success. I'm hoping that in the near future we can use these strategies that we're developing in the lab to help those patients with devastating facial trauma so they can restore both form and function. Thank you.
Matt Kirish.
Current cancer diagnosis requires tissue removal so that the sample can be sent off to a lab where it's expensively analyzed before a diagnosis is returned days or even weeks later. This process occurs even if the patient is free of disease. An alternative is to use microscopes which can fit within metal tubes less than 1.5 millimeters wide so that a doctor can make an immediate diagnosis by imaging tissue in its native environment in the body in real time without having to remove it. I'm developing lenses for the next generation of these needle microscopes which improve the magnification of the cells so that you can identify smaller features which indicate whether the tissue is healthy, precancerous, or cancerous. The lenses also help to focus light within the tissue, making needle microscopes more efficient, and they let multiple dyes be used for staining so that the doctors can further analyze the tissue. The lenses are also made out of plastic rather than glass so that they can be more easily and cheaply fabricated and mass-produced. There's potential for these needle microscopes incorporating my lenses to be widely available for clinical use right now. They may someday provide safe, effective, immediate cancer diagnosis. Thank you.
Fergus Wong.
Did you know that your heart valves open and close over 40 million times every year? And what can doctors do to replace such a valve when it becomes calcified and hard and it loses its function? Well, you could put in a mechanical valve for those who have blood clotting issues, or you could put in animal tissue for those who have durability issues. A promising alternative is to use tissue-engineered heart valves. These can be functional living tissue that can grow, repair, and remodel. However, a challenge in developing these valves has been achieving adequate collagen and elastin formation, and these are very important for the mechanical strength of the valve. So my research focuses on decoding the structure of proteoglycans. Now these are proteins that are attached to carbohydrates called glycosaminoglycans. And together, these are known to regulate collagen and elastin formation. So what I want to do is figure out which structural details of proteoglycans can improve collagen and elastin formation. I will then apply this to tissue engineering by using gene therapy to reproduce proteoglycans with those structural details. And this, in turn, will create a robust and functional valve. Hopefully, this technology can develop to the point where you can just keep on eating those cheeseburgers and bacon, whatever you want, and you can know that there will be a dependable heart valve replacement waiting for you.